up, friends? How's everybody doing in virtual land? Welcome to my Monday Mayhem Streamcast. It's been full of mayhem already, but that's all right. We're here. We're live. We've got our amazing guest. I can't wait to bring her out. Doesn't matter how we got here. We got here. That's what matters. So thank you, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to let the chat get settled. I'm going to go ahead and give my intro, and thank you for everyone that's been patiently waiting for me to kick off the live. Do appreciate it. Patience is so appreciated. I'm DJ. I'm your host of your show this week. My visual descriptor for those listening on audio. I'm a female Latina brunette with silver hair, some streaks to it. I have olive skin, I have brown eyes, and I have a big smile. And today I'm wearing pink lipstick with my blue Mission Continues t-shirt, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Thank you again for being here. Every week I'm here. We're sharing powerful stories and experiences to destigmatize and normalize mental health, disability, and trauma. This is a place where I like to share our mayhem. I like to create opportunities through connection and also be a voice that we can break stigmas and encourage acceptance. This week, I don't know if I need a trigger warning. I usually bring it up and I use encourage discretion as we discuss things that sometimes can be difficult or mature in nature. And as well, I always like to make sure that, these are our opinions and our experiences that we're sharing. So if you're new, welcome. Thank you for checking in, tuning in. I'm really excited. We're celebrating our veterans. Veterans Day is on Thursday. I know I'm off from my job and I'm so excited. Thank you. It's a great week. I'm so excited. It's November. Thank you everyone for being here. If you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, follow me on LinkedIn. Thank you. Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I'm even streaming to Twitter. So thank you to Restream for powering my lives. I've been so appreciative of the wonderful streaming services that they provide and the integrations and the constant updates. So it's really wonderful. We're here a little hour early. I know with the time change, I had to hit it for 6:30 as we go into winter, and I just felt it was, appropriate. So my show will be at 6:30. And although it's a little bit more difficult for me to prepare, I think that it's important that I just kind of share that with everyone. So I'm going to try to be here every week at 6:30 Eastern time. So let's get to our show. I'm really excited for tonight's episode. I'm a veteran. My guest is a superstar veteran. I'm so excited to share her with y'all, introduce you to her. She is an amazing woman. So much to share. We're going to salute tonight Elizabeth Yeo, a U.S. Navy veteran. She's a speaker and an advocate. She's a coach and a consultant. She's really dedicated to the health and well-being and welfare of women veterans. She likes to provide assistance and services to support them in their transition out of the military. That's why we're talking today. She's going to bring us some amazing knowledge. She's going to share a little bit about her struggles entering civilian life after 27 years in the Navy. She now has founded and is CEO of the Veterans Charities Initiative, which we'll talk a little bit about. It's formed strategic alliances and partnerships with organizations dedicated to servicing and hiring women veterans. She's focused on sustainability, diversity, and inclusion, as well as personal and business growth and development. So I'm really excited. She loves to build alliances, collaborations, and partnerships. That's why she's here. Let me go ahead and bring out my guest. Where is she? Miss Elizabeth. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, we made it. Thank you for being here.
I know. Thank you so much.
All right. I went ahead and went all out Air Force. But you're Navy, so I had to represent over here.
Right on. Love my Air Force.
Oh, well, thank you. Before we get started, and let's say hi to the chat because I know I've made them wait a little bit, but we've had some people kind of commenting already. If you can see the chat, what's up, Garen? Hello. Thank you for being here. Let's say hello, everyone, to our guests. Oh, I got to go this way. Elizabeth. I met her through the Mission Continues. We
That's
are
right.
cohorts from the second women's leadership. So it was really exciting, and I felt that was such an empowering process. Those months,
Yeah.
5-6 months, and it
Mhm.
really taught me a lot that I didn't really realize. So one thing that I will start off with that I felt was really powerful, and this is kind of a vulnerability on my part, is that you have served 27 years, which is an amazing, amazing accomplishment in life. And for me, I always said I only served 4 years.
No. I didn't serve 27 years. I've been a veteran for 27 years.
Okay, veteran for 27 years.
I only
Woo!
served 4 years too.
Okay, you only served 4 years. Okay,
Yes.
woo. Okay, so
Yeah,
right.
we're the same boat.
Okay, good. I was like, okay, woo. But it's really hard. The things we learn in the military, and just
Mhm.
all the structure and just the training that we go through, we never forget, right? It's really a
No,
part of who we
who we
are
are. Mhm.
moving forward after that experience. So, it's just really nice to kind of be sharing the stage and being able to talk openly about our experiences as veterans, but as women as well, and really highlighting that. So, welcome, Malcolm. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Hello, hello. Hugs to you your Saturday night. It's so nice. Thank you, everyone. Jenny, thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. Yes. Hi, Veg. Oh, it's so nice to see you. What a nice surprise. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jenny, thank you so much for that. Happy Veterans Day. Yes. I mean, this is really, like, for me, an exciting time. I really appreciate veterans and, our military families and their support systems, because we cannot
Yeah.
forget support systems when we talk about military. So
Yeah.
it's been, like, really an interesting, like, experience to be able to go through the military and experience the training that we go, and then being able to use those skills moving forward through our life, and really
Mhm.
putting to practice a lot of those core values that we hold now.
It's so true. Mhm.
hmm So, your military experience, you were in the Navy. Tell me a little bit about the Navy and what you did, and then I'll share.
So so I went in 19. I was 19 when I went in the military, and I worked in Intel. So I was a cryptology technician, operator. So yeah, I was doing cryptology before. Now it's crypto is like the main word. Everybody's using it. So yeah, I had no idea what that was when I went in myself. I had no idea that it was like some type of elitist level. I just was like, whatever, okay, great, whatever. I'm leaving Cleveland. That's awesome. So, I mean, I love my hometown, but yeah, I had to see the world. So yeah, I really didn't realize what I was getting into. I didn't realize, even within the military, it's kind of an isolated, sector, because, we don't talk about our jobs. We don't talk about anything. Everybody else can talk about their duty stations and what they do, and a little bit about their work, but cryptos can never, CTs don't talk about anything, so we're still odd men out a lot of times. But it was really a great experience for me, and it started me off on my IT career. After that, I had no idea what I was going to learn, but I really am grateful for the experience. So yeah, I did only 4 years too, and when you work in intelligence, that seems like a lifetime.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to make note was that I learned through the women's leadership cohort that we did was, we say only, but like 4 years is still 4 years of service.
Mhm,
That's four
mhm.
years more, right,
Yes,
than a lot
yes,
of individuals. So we have to value that. So for
absolutely.
me, that's been a real hard struggle. I've had so much quote unquote imposter syndrome. I feel
Mm,
sometimes when you're talking to individuals that have served, like, long term and retired, and just been lifelong service members, and you're just like, wow, that's truly, again, like I said, an accomplishment. But, you
Mhm.
know, just to go back to only 4 years, but yeah, I was a crew chief. I worked on C-130s, and I did work on a SOS, a special operations squadron. So there's a certain level of, you know, stuff you don't talk about, though
Yeah.
nothing like intelligence or crypto. But that is fascinating. You know, that really is fascinating. And I can only imagine the what that does to you moving forward as you go into civilian life, you know, being a service member, working in that field. Let me check the, I want to keep saying hello to the chat. So hello, Travis, for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you, Poppy. It's nice for you to stop in. It's been a minute. So I hope life is good for you. Thank you, everyone. No, I don't know what that was. Okay, that is, let's see, spam. I see spam. No, Juana, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us, women, veterans. Really, just putting ourselves out there, right, and talking about this, and again, just there are some differences, and there's things that veterans, I guess, I don't even know how to say it. I'm getting all kind of choked up. But I know that I think there's times when there's things that you just don't talk about, right? Lots of things. And it's
Mhm.
not just work related, right? They're personal things. And I think that goes back to another thing that we learned in the cohort about sharing our stories.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, they're
and
powerful.
mhm.
Mhm.
So, you know, what was it for you, just like, again, working in this type of secrecy and then having to kind of enter, like, what was it that kind of made you be able to start this initiative and, you know, say, I know that there's veterans out there that need help, and I want to
So,
be able to help them as well.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. So, for me, I always speak to the fact that I have been a veteran for 27 years. And I say that because it actually speaks volumes to my experience of being a civilian, as a veteran for 27 years. It's quite a transition we go through.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multifaceted transition. And one thing that I did, because that was what was encouraged during my time, so I served in the early 90s. And so, nobody was talking about entrepreneurialism. Nobody was talking about any of that or doing a podcast. Nobody was talking about any of this. So it was just, get out, get a job, just do the same old, I hate to say it, but systemic path
Yeah.
that we've all been taught to ride on from,
Mm-hmm.
God only knows when it started. But, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So even though I served in the 90s, when I got out, it was still the same mentality. Get out, you get a job, you go somewhere where you get a pension, 401k, you work one job, and then you retire, then travel or you die, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, when I got out, from the time I got out, I was in a male dominated industry. I was in a male dominated job in the Navy. I got out and went right into a male dominated industry, which was IT at the time. This is when the dot coms and dot bombs were all over the place. And we were
Mm-hmm.
just starting to enter into IT world. I mean, Silicon Valley was not even a thought yet. It was just like just starting to bud. Everything was just starting and it was jobs galore. It was a great time, but a very tumultuous time. Things were growing rapidly, so fast, I think faster than we could keep up. And so it was a great time to get out, but there was a lot of opportunity, but it was still very male dominated. I mean, I was the one woman, or maybe one or two women on my crew in the Navy, one or two women all the way through my IT years. And so, there's a certain mentality you develop when you're in a male dominated environment. It really is. So you just, you learn a lot of different skills. You have to imply a lot, exemplify a lot of different skills and,
Mm-hmm.
put up with a lot of stuff. And so, it really shaped me and helped me to absolutely know what's needed, what's missing. And I could never find a position that would help me or value what my skill strengths were, or help me discover what that was. Not in the military side of the recruiting side for us, nor on the civilian side. And so I knew it was something missing, and it has been forever. So that's really what drew me to start this whole business in terms of helping women veterans, find their place in the corporate world.
Ooh, okay. Wonderful. No, that's good. And I mean, we hear about a lot of that. So, leaving the military and then entering, and we are really kind of told, stick to one job, find a government job, go from one government job to another government job. And yeah, so I was, I worked for the states, I have kind of had that working, being public servant, or, a service member to my country, serving my community. Just, and again, those values have never left. Now I went through a process, and I realized this again, going back through this cohort, and again, how important that experience was to me, is learning that not only are those values important, because we took them on as our own, but we also lose ourselves in those values that we hold so dearly. And sometimes we forget that we're a human, we're not that military branch, we're not that job,
Right.
we're not. So let's talk about how we break away from that military thinking, and then how do we help others transition into civilian and becoming more understanding of what the civilian life is really about, and maybe understanding that those values might have been imposed to a certain extent, and really how do you grow as an individual for a smoother transition, for an easier transition. And I think when you say about that support,
it's
so important.
I think the best thing to do, which is something I didn't do, is to reconnect. And for me, I was so trying, and probably a lot of us are always like running for the door, like, okay, we already count down to the last second, before we sign our papers. We're out, like, look, I got 2 days, 2 months, 2 hours, 25 minutes, 15 seconds, So that's how it usually is a lot of times. And, and I think that's the worst mistake we make. And that's the worst mistake I made. I didn't realize that I needed to reconnect to community. I needed to find my tribe, like we did in the cohort. I didn't know. And for me at that time, there was no transitional, resources, and it was like, here's your right. What is that? So yeah, they hand you your DD 214. It's like aging out of foster care. Thanks for your, service. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to live? We'll ship you there, and you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, all right. So it's quite a transition, and no civilian will understand it. So, thinking that you can just jump in, and that's what I did. Oh, I'll just get a job. I'll just, live my life. Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. Yes. Okay. But then I'm like, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm starting to feel all these different things, and nobody can explain it to me. So you go through, and, so reconnecting with community is really important. And I'm a big advocate now. I wasn't then, I didn't know, but volunteering is one of the best things for us as military vets to do. It is absolutely critical, I think, to us being able to reconnect to some type of community, to some type of purpose, to some type of people that have a heart of service. Now, we don't have to all share the same service. Obviously, military will be military and whatnot, but it's still that same heart of service that we all are pulling from. I think reconnecting to an environment like that is critical for us to start that healing process, that transition process, because most of us may get out of the military and go to a whole new city. That's what I did. I didn't go back to my hometown. Some people don't go back to their home
Mm.
countries. So,
Yes.
that transition is really deep. And so you're alone, that isolation might start setting in. That's why people go into depression. They're trying to
Mhm.
figure out what to do. And then the civilian side of things, like the corporate world, they totally don't get it. They don't understand anything about a transition. So they're just
Mhm.
expecting you to just come in, hop to it, and just get with the program. And you're military, so you can just adapt. They have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. So for me, I think reconnecting, re-engaging with the community is key. It is really, really, and not just any community, but a community of service, because it was a big turnoff to me to go to a corporate, because it's a level up environment, right? It's all about me
Mm.
getting to the next level. It's not like you take the E5 exam and there's 20,000 positions for E5 available, or different ranks in the military. You take the exam, you pass, you go ahead. It's not that in corporate. So, everybody's leveling up. You can't necessarily trust everyone. I think we get out and we're very trustworthy too much, because, hey, everybody's got your six, even if they don't like you. So, usually. So, it's very difficult to transition into this whole new environment, way of thinking. People in their
Mhm.
different values don't match yours, and you're in a whole, it's like, a pea in a bowl of carrots, you know what I mean? So yeah,
Exactly.
that's how I wish I would have done that 30 years ago, but I stayed disconnected for a long time, DJ. I didn't connect back to anything until Mission Continues. And I'm telling you the truth. That is the first time
Wow.
I connected to I didn't want anything to do with it, because, I was burned out. So when I
Yeah.
did,
Well, trauma,
I
right? There's trauma there.
yeah,
4 years,
absolutely.
whether you're stateside or you're overseas. I mean, trauma, trauma, trauma.
It's
And
a
there's
level.
different ways of, we cope with that. I mean, even moving, loss, grieving, you
Yeah.
lose friends,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. Oh God, I was trying to take notes. People saw me moving around. You talked about community, and I automatically thought most of my conversations when it talks about trauma or disability, that support system, finding your community is critical to your
Yeah.
healing, to your growth, to your, self-preservation, something
Absolutely.
that I talk about. You talked about trust, which is so important. I know that there was a comment before the show earlier in the week, as we had the promo out, talking about that expectation. Like, yes, you leave the military, you just happen to fall into a corporate position, and you're just in for a world of awakening about how it works. And it's so different, and
Yeah.
there are no preparations.
None.
So and then, I mean, I don't know, right? If there's unresolved issues of trauma, that can get compounded.
Yeah.
So, and I think if there's a lack of services or a lack of resources, or we don't know where to
Absolutely.
go, we don't know where to turn, it just magnifies and it just continues. Now, we haven't talked about the heavy stuff, right? We haven't really talked about the suicide. We haven't talked about, so much of that is still prevalent, how the numbers continue to just be large numbers, right? And so it's really important that we just continue to have these conversations and continue to be compassionate and bring awareness to our veterans, no matter 4 years or 20 years or 30 years,
Exactly.
because it's a uniqueness in
Mm-hmm.
that experience. So I appreciate you sharing this with me. I mean, it really is important to be able to share these conversations to, even if we're providing information to one more veteran, now that they have a resource, they can come to you, right? I
Yes.
do want to talk a little bit about that. I continue to talk about the motivation that got you to this place, now that you have this organization that you're really, it's, doing great things. So I mean, I want you to continue, because I want people to know, like, what that represents, and why it's important. I mean,
Sure.
we're talking about LinkedIn, a lot of businesses, lots of right, the chat, right? We have like talent acquisition and HR specialists that are listening, that watch the show. And so it's important for us to be able to kind of say, you know, there are those things that we want to encourage, that there's services you can reach out to agencies that want to support those veterans so they can be successful in your corporation, in your organization.
Yes. So for me, the caveat with our firm is when people place veterans, it needs to be more customized, if you will. And that's what I just started doing for the Easter Seals organization that I'm with now. So I'm a career coach for them, and we literally do customized employment for the disabled community. And much like the disabled community, the veteran community really does need customized employment because of what you just mentioned. There's a lot of different things going on with veterans. We're at a lot of different stages and within our transitions. No veteran is the same, and I think the dysfunction, I think, is that people have a very distorted view of what the veteran looks like. You know, many people don't even consider a veteran unless they know they were on a combat mission shooting M16s. You know, it's a very distorted view. It's all over the place. And recruiting companies, like I mentioned, the ones that are supposed to be just military affiliated for us, and then those in the civilian sector, neither one of them get it. And I'll speak frankly, they don't represent us well at all. And so it's very few and far between where you have a lot of recruiters who know and understand and really take that time to customize it. And then they're all under a numbers crunch too. So, you know, the industry in and of itself is what it is. And that's why I saw that there's room for firms like mine. So it's not just about, you know, finding some random job. Oh yeah, it pays this much, you know, yeah, can you get to it? What's the commute? These are standard things for civilians. And honestly, a lot of civilians need customized employment nowadays because of a lot of things that we deal with. But nonetheless, for the veteran, especially in transition, you know, you have to be careful where you place them, you know, what kind of positions you place them in. Many people think, oh, we only can do security and police force work, you know.
Ooh, I get that a lot from veterans that come asking for some job employment assistance. Yeah.
So, you know, they don't understand there's every industry inside the military, just like in the civilian world, you know. So I think for me, it's a combination of both. You know, we consult with the corporation because I almost feel like most times they feel like they're doing the veterans some kind of favor, you know. Well, they need to retrain us, you know, they need to, like, we're just, like I said, foster kids. And I'm sorry, but no. So I feel like they need to be consulted to understand the value that they're getting. They need to really, we need to understand exactly what we are putting our veterans into. And we also need to have supportive services in place for them once we place them there. I think that just placing and leaving them is where we're falling apart, why there's so much turnover for veterans in the corporate space, because there's now resources for us. They don't get it. We're not to be grouped or categorized into everyone else because we're not everyone else. And so, you know, people sometimes get offended when I speak to us with high regard that way and say, well, you know, are you better than everyone else? Yeah, we are. We are better. We absolutely are better because, you know, we are a step above all the rest, including those that are sitting there contemplating hiring us. You know, we put our lives on the line. We served our time voluntarily, most of us. And so, yeah, we are better. So now we're coming back home with a slew of different things that nobody knows about that we're dealing with. And we need supportive services so we can do our job well, so we can focus on our job. So 90% of, I think, what happens to us is that searching for those services, going through the hit and miss of what's a good service and what's not, trying to make appointments, trying to get your services taken care of, you know, takes away time from your job. It adds to the frustration. A lot of people are like, you know what, forget it. You know what I mean? So it's not good for the veteran. It's not good for the employer. And it's just a loss on both sides. So for me, I feel like there needs to be supportive services in place. That's what we add on top. I will help place them. I will service the ones already placed, but I'm here to provide that as an additional resource, not just staffing and recruiting, but as a supportive resource, because that's what they need through their tenure with that organization. And I think that helps to build more of a tighter alliance and collaboration instead of just a random recruiting firm, I'll place you, and if it doesn't work out, I'll just send another one, off the factory line, right? So, I really feel like we need to be handled with care because, we're going through a lot, each one of us, at any given time. And so, yeah, that's why I'm very happy to, meet with recruiters, HR staff, hiring managers, CEOs, business owners, anyone who is willing and should be, right, to hire veterans, and especially women leaders, leadership positions, not just entry-level positions. So, yeah.
Yes. Woo, girl. Okay. I'm ready for my rebuttal. I feel I'm like, woo, getting in hot and deep. Oh my. I didn't know my face. I was like, whoo, I just didn't know what to respond. I mean, we are special, lots of customized needs. I think of the veterans that are on the streets, that are homeless, that are just barriers and struggling, and there's just a lack of understanding. I heard what you said, which totally triggered a conversation I had today earlier with someone. I was talking to an individual today, and they were talking about an adult child, adult disabled person, a parent, a caregiver, saying that they were working with another agency. This agency just kind of drops them there and walks away. This person needs customized training. This person needs coaching. This person needs ongoing support. But yeah, I mean, I hear it all the time, really. That's and to see the similarities, just like how much really there's not too much of a difference, right, when we do talk about mental health issues, because there's those underlying mental health issues or the disability that we carry, whether we know it or not, whether we accept it or not. The trauma that we've endured, that we carry, that we close in, that we hold tight. We want to, be the best that we can be, the way we've been trained to represent well. For Air Force, it's, excellence in all we do. I mean, I still carry those values, and it's like, okay, but that excellence in all we do, like ingrained in my brain, has really caused me problems as well, right? It's like that perfectionist, that overachieving, like really you start to take that to heart. And then when there's problems, when there's issues, when there's confusion, when there's a lack of control, or a lack of the environment changes, and so we start to lose, and it hits us hard. I mean, it gets so overwhelming, and I hear this almost daily in the conversation, so it's really parallels a lot of that. And even when we talk about, I think we were talking about even with prisoners, right, when they're being released from prison, and I mean, we want to give them another opportunity. They've served their time, but there's no support, there's no transitional system to help them to not find a way to go back, because that's all they know. So if there's not that assistance, that customized training to really help them acclimate, I think that's the word,
right,
and have feel like they're supported, and they're not alone in those experiences, those thoughts. And then we start to see these suicide numbers, unfortunately, and the depression, the PTSD, and the calls for help that still go unanswered.
Right.
And then add the women. Girl, add the women that have to deal with all those other issues. I mean, but it is a lot. So I always, this episode is really special in that sense where, I like to give again to, the salute, as they say in the civilian world, right, tip of the hat to women veterans that really, as mothers, have to take care of children as well. And they have those extra responsibilities that still, aren't, that still are upon, for me. I had my daughter when I was in the military. I had one child while I was active duty. So that was just a whole nother experience that you just never forget, right? I mean, so very interesting, very special. And then transitioning, for me, it was social services. I went into social services, helping people. And I didn't leave that, right? I just, like, again, it was ingrained in me. You just pick one and you stay on it, and you're, steadfast, right? So it's really interesting just to be able to share those experiences, whether again it's 4 years or 20 years. I think
Mm-hmm.
they do a really good job of training us, putting us through that training. But
Definitely.
I mean, what can we do to help our veterans now? What are some things that we can do to help our veterans today
Um,
to day?
You know, honestly, I think, finding a good fellowship, keeping balance is really important. I think focusing more on one area than the other is not good. So for me, and what I shared through coaching, counseling, and just through kind of my ministry also is, really maintaining balance. And, I just kind of keep to like five pillars or five strengths, if you will, because if any one of those is out of balance, you're going to feel out of balance. And so for me, I'm really draw from my faith. That's the center for me. And so for me, spiritual, having, your spiritual strength is really important because that directly feeds into your mental, right? And your mental, as we know, mental health is a real big thing. And I think in this whole selfie world, I can do it. My husband used to have that attitude. It's all I can do it. I got this. I'm in control. All I need to do is work and make money. And then one day he got run over by a car at work. Like seriously. I'm not kidding. And that's why I'm a caregiver right now. So my title, it says caregiver. Yes, that's why. That's why I'm a caregiver, because he got hurt on the job. That came out of nowhere. It happened to us when we were in our 30s and our kids were toddlers. And so I immediately became a caregiver. And that statement forever rang in my mind that, you know what, oh, I got this. I'm in control. You're not in control of anything, because you know what, you never know what's going to happen ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you don't want to get to a point where you are, like you said, that perfectionist. I'm depending on myself. It's, because if you fail yourself, then what? You know what I mean? Then you're going in the spiral, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
downwardness, depression, because you realize, oh my God, I can't do it. So now what do I do? So,
Yeah. You
that's why
feel like
having
you lose value in
you
that. And that's,
do, you do.
yeah.
And that's why you need a community. That's why it's so
Mm-hmm.
important to stay connected, to have a community, have a tribe, have that solid five around you. People who will, I say keep it real, be compassionate, understand and be empathetic and sympathetic, and not afraid to tell you the truth about yourself, and also can, cry with you. You need people who will really help you be the best you. And so mentally, maintaining that means, watch your circle, be careful who you let in, watch the relationships you have, that all plays into our mental. And so and we're very bombarded by negative. So people wake up to the news, they go to bed to the news. Like, hello, you cannot allow all this negativity to start to overrun you, because you'll be living in fear 24 hours a day. And then when you mentally break down, what happens? Physically, you start breaking down, not just your health and body, but maybe your environment. One bad mental health day, you could have an argument with your boss, you could get fired, you could fall into debt, lose your apartment, and you're homeless on the street, just
Mm-hmm.
like that. So really physically and mentally, all these things start to tie together, right? Financially. So if you are broke, struggling, you are stressed, you are worried. It just is natural for us to fall into that. And that is not good for your health. Mentally, you don't sleep, you cannot focus. It's a consistent domino effect. And then for me, last are, like I said, the relationships. I heard an executive give a talk on a New Year's message one time, and I never thought about this till he said it, but he said, watch your relationships. Do you even consider year after year, we make all these resolutions to lose weight? I'm going to go to the beach and be looking fabulous. I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going on a vacation. But what about the relationships? Are you bringing in toxic relationships year after year? Are you bringing in relationships that are not adding value to your life, wasting a lot of your time? I had a girlfriend and I love her to death, but she will get you on the phone and be on there for the next 4 hours, and you don't know where the time went. But I love her, but do I need to be spending 4 hours of my day on the telephone? You know what
Right,
I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So just keeping a solid balance, for us, and staying connected. Because I know a lot of us have a tendency to want to just disconnect and just say, you know what? But I think that is the worst thing for us to do. It was the worst thing I ever did, and I regret it, and I would never tell anyone to do it ever. So yeah, stay connected, find your tribe. And I think volunteering is the way to start, honestly, DJ, because people have that service heart, which we can relate
Mm-hmm.
to. That's something we can relate to immediately. So it's an easy transition to start our healing, if you will.
Yes. I wanted to say it's National Caregiver I saw it on here. Oh, appreciation, right? Caregiver Appreciation Month as well. So
Is it?
yeah. I have stuff like that written on my
Oh
calendar.
my gosh.
So
Welcome to the caregiver's life. We don't even know. I'm like, oh yeah, what?
I know. Well, we've got caregivers, that check in and stuff. And when we
I
talk about
love
topics,
it.
it's important. I mean,
It
take that
is.
title, so we got to appreciate our caregivers.
That's awesome.
Again, you're as a female, as a wife, stepping into that role to be a caregiver for your spouse, your partner, and you're just filling in all those roles, really having to just, work everything out, right? Really hold it down and take care. So it's a lot. But I mean, it's been interesting to hear all the commonalities again between these topics that I like to talk about, and how really we are just humans and we're all going through these hardships. We all have these, and at least we can kind of relate on that. And that brings
Yeah.
us at least a sense of, again, community and connecting, that we're, when the stream goes off, somebody else is kind of going through it too,
Yeah.
right? I'm gonna cry myself to sleep tonight. um I'm not alone. Somebody else is, going through the same thing. So it
Right.
for me, it brings me comfort. Or if I see other people connecting, because they're like, oh, okay. So, and I think, those points of community, you can't say that enough about how important it is to build that, not to isolate yourself.
Right.
When you're combating the depression, when you're combating, uh, you know, all those diagnoses, gripping with those thoughts, and fighting them, and finding ways to just build your support, have those numbers in your phone, have those people around you. And like what you were also saying is, well, I called it self-preservation, but making sure that you're analyzing who's in your circle, who is close to you, and who you're letting in, who you're really engaging with, and those exchanges. Is it healing energy? Is it healing time and space? Or is it draining you? And is it, taking you to a darker place?
Yeah.
And evaluating that. So, but I think what you say as a coach and as a consultant, that comes from that experience, right? As we work with individuals, and we want them to really be successful in their own ways, and really be able to, you know, um, achieve those goals that they set for themselves.
Right.
So,
Right.
chat, thank you so much for being here. Alex, thank you again. Daniel, I know you're amazing. Thank you so much. He's a caregiver, kids with disabilities. We've talked, he's been a guest on my show, so I hold him dearly. But it really is important. And again, encouraging that awareness to understand that just because a veteran that shows up, doesn't mean that they're not dealing with stuff behind the scenes. And how we can understand. I think it's important that you did talk about your supporting businesses on the other side, right? Not only can we serve, right, with our hearts, our veterans, but in these conversations on more of a professional platform, or once we start having those conversations with employers or businesses, we're out there advocating. What kind of information do you share with businesses, and what kind of tips would you encourage them when they're working with veterans, even as just one-on-one meeting them as they're starting to, consider veterans, and not just do the, what did you call it earlier? Kind of like the generic
Kind of factory driven placement.
factory. Yeah.
um,
Like, what
yeah,
are some tips? It's
Yeah,
like,
I always I've asked companies, I ask them outright, what are your views on hiring veterans,
hmm,
and many people will instantly respond, "Oh, yes, we definitely love hiring veterans." Well, a lot of times it's put your money where your mouth is, because I've run up on situations where people say that to me, and want to have more veterans hired. But I've had someone make a comment to me once, for an organization that wanted to hire veterans, wanted to do more with veterans for veterans, and in Los Angeles specifically, we have an extremely high number of homeless veterans. Okay, because housing is expensive, not just here, but especially here, it's the highest number. And
yeah.
so in the conversation, as they give their presentation about their organization and what they do, and how they want to, connect and do for veterans, the next comment, and this is another misconception, is that, oh, we don't have to pay veterans that much. And that is what has literally been said to me. And, my response to that, well, this is why we have such a high number of homeless veterans on the street, because, people really don't value a veteran. I think there's a huge misconception
Mm,
that when we depart out of the military, we're still getting paid somehow. So I don't know why people think that, but we're getting paid, full salaries when we get out for the rest of our lives.
where's
We're getting
that
full
check?
benefits. We got dental, vision, we just got it going on. And that is not true. And so it's like, you can only, because this gentleman told me, maybe we could pay them $13, $14 an hour. And I said, my son works at the grocery store and he's making more money than that. So why would that be okay for a veteran, for a high schooler to make more than a veteran? So, that
Mm,
misconception in and of itself is really not helpful. So I think before companies get on the bandwagon, and I say bandwagon because a lot of people will say they're for the veteran cause because it looks good, it might be good PR, it sounds
right.
great, but what are you really doing? Are you really making a difference? So, for me, it's more of what kind of positions are you offering? Are you really taking the time to understand the veteran community before you just
Mhm.
open up jobs? Are the jobs you're offering jobs that a junior high school student could do? Where is the value that they're placing on the veterans? So I think it's very important, before they jump out, that they actually do some type of research to know what the community looks like, what their needs are, and how can we best,
Mm,
honestly, really cultivate a good match, like I said, a customizable
yeah.
match, because veterans are very multifaceted. We're $1 million trained people who have worked on $1 billion equipment. So it's, we're not some like fly by the night,
Right, right.
community. Okay. We know what we're doing. And all of us were trained as leaders. So we should, not all of us want leadership positions, but I think we should be always considered for it, because we definitely know how to step up to the plate. So, for me, I think the best thing is to start by getting a consultant to come in. Don't have your HR, who has no veteran experience, not a veteran, doesn't know a veteran, doesn't talk to a veteran, try and hire veterans. No. And you don't interview veterans the same. So, you need to understand a community before you just dive in and think you're going to do something special for them. That's a big problem that people have, I think, across the board, but most of all with our community. So for me, it's tips like that, get to know a community before, because honestly, a lot of times when they offer something, it's almost insulting to get offered these low level positions that, our kids can do. It's like, seriously? So, I think it's very cautious to have a conversation, have some research done, reach out to a
Mhm.
real veteran or a veteran organization that can explain to you about the community before assuming you know what it is, and then just throw some jobs at them as if they'll just take anything that's, tossed in the tank. So,
Mm.
yeah, for me, that's where I come in. I'll sit
Yes,
down and talk to
advocate
you.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
no,
So
it
that's
really is
that's what I want
important.
to do. Mhm.
And I think you're on, like, I want to say you're onto something, but yeah, like that seems very valid where they kind of just throw you something. Plus, not to mention like all the the stuff that like you said, the PR or kind of like the intent behind it is kind of self-serving.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like the offer. So I can understand what you're saying. I mean, yes, yes. Very true. Yes. And they do, because yeah, like not everybody gets benefits, and there is no pay after, I mean, this is so, I'm not sure
People
where they
really think it
got that.
though. It's amazing. They always say, "Oh, aren't you still getting paid from the military?" And I'm thinking, "What? What? Why would you think that?" But they
I was gonna say
align.
tax breaks and stuff like that, right? Like they want these little incentives on the other side. But they're not really serving their employees, let alone their veterans,
Right.
to the capacity that they should. And I think, it's just becoming now more and more prevalent to have these conversations. It's finally like people are
Yeah.
realizing their value, as a whole. So that's really at least, something that we're seeing. I feel that it's like, okay, we are worth more. And even we started this conversation, I'm like, started with the cohort and only 4 years. And it's like, I diminish myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then we allow agencies or corporations to diminish us, or, some
Right.
bad publicity, some of, the stuff that's in the media. And, there's good and bad everywhere. So I'm not
Right.
trying to say anything, but, we want to at least try to support our veterans, so
Mm-hmm.
we can, um, break those stigmas, those misconceptions, those negative kind of stereotypes, and then
Absolutely.
not leave them in the streets,
Yeah. Right.
with, these kinds of barriers, not only employment, but then housing, and the mental health issues, which lead, potential substance abuse issues.
Mm-hmm.
And, we didn't talk about that. So it's just, for me, I really appreciate this conversation and us being able to kind of bounce around about things. My show is very conversational. We talked about mental health, we talked about disability and trauma, how we can talk about, helping our veterans and being more supportive
Right.
to our veterans, as well as giving our little female perspective. We didn't talk about sexual assault and all the types of discrimination that come along with being a female. But those are other, topics that really need to be had. And I know that you working with women, that's probably some of those conversations that you also have to have,
Right.
with them, in preparation for transitioning into corporate, or
Mm-hmm.
transitioning into just the civilian world, in
Right.
itself. So, ooh, Elizabeth. Girl, let's start wrapping it up. I know we started a little late, but we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to share your information. I want to make sure individuals connect with you. If businesses or agencies or anybody wants to reach out for consulting, how they can be that much more prepared and a little bit more effective in working with veterans, hiring veterans to reach out to you.
Please just reach out to me.
Yes.
LinkedIn is good.
Yeah. Sounds
I'm on
good.
Instagram, LinkedIn. You can message me on there. Also, moderate and host clubs on the Clubhouse. So I have a Clubhouse or a
Oh,
club, and
yeah.
I would highly recommend people get on it. It's a great place to network and meet people, and really build collaborations, and collaborative opportunities are there. So I do host and moderate a club that's was based out of Hong Kong, and it's
Oh,
a global room, and anyone's welcome. So you can find me on the Clubhouse. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can definitely reach out on the back channel of LinkedIn, and we can exchange numbers. I'm happy to have a conversation always. So thank you so
yes.
much for that, DJ.
Well, girl, I was nervous going into this one. I was like, how am I going to handle this one? But you know what? It is what it is. I wanted one last thing, and I know this is a coin. Look at that. I have my little Air
You
Force
got yours
coin.
too.
I did. So, I was like, woo. And I like to collect coins. Look, I
I
got,
have it too. Oh, that's
I
nice.
got a little, I know. I'm all like, we got coins. So, show support to your
Right.
veterans. Get them a coin. That's like such a fun gift. you know.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to
Absolutely.
share that with you. But thank you so much. Please connect with Elizabeth, Instagram, LinkedIn. You're on Twitter too. So,
Yes.
hey, Twitter. Veterans Charities Initiative is the business, the .com is the website. They can reach you there. There's a contact form on there.
Yes, ma'am.
And you really share your mission, you know, dedicated to the health, well-being, and welfare of women veterans. I think we did a wonderful job covering that tonight. So I appreciate you joining me to talk about this. And, you know, maybe I got caught rambling. I don't know. But I really, you know, I appreciate the conversation and us being able to represent. But
Amen. I love it. And I appreciate you. I'm so happy to support you. This is awesome what you're doing. So happy for you.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. This all started right alongside the Mission Continues and that women's veterans cohort. And it just really, I've taken a lot of that with me and put it together with the military and then all the stuff I've learned in between, right?
Yes.
All the life in between. So, you know, we're going to continue to grow and advocate and, you know, make ourselves available, right?
Indeed. Indeed.
All right, my
Thank
dear.
you. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
All right,
It's
we're
been
gonna
a
say our
pleasure.
goodbyes. Yeah, we're gonna hit the outro. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.